The fifth book in Chris Colfer's #1 New York Times best-selling Land of Stories series. The Masked Man has captured all the royal families from the Land of Stories with the help of his army of literary's greatest villains, including the Wicked Witch of the West, the Queen of Hearts, and Captain Hook. With his sinister plan finally in motion, he is eager to destroy the families and take his place as emperor. Alex and Connor know they are no match against the Masked Man's legion of villains, but they realize that they may be in possession of the greatest weapon of all, their own imaginations. So begins the twins' journeys into Connor's very own stories to gather an army of pirates, cyborgs, superheroes, and mummies as they band together for the ultimate fight against the Masked Man. Meanwhile, an even more dangerous plan is brewing, one that could change the fate of both the fairy tale world and the other world forever. Connor's tales come to life in a thrilling fifth adventure in the New York Times #1 bestseller Land of Stories series. The Land of Stories, an author's odyssey. Written and narrated by Chris Colfer. So, here we are. Episode 5. Only one more to go. So let's begin with the cover. Once again, the cover is just as good as all the previous covers. I have no problem with it at all. Although I do have to say, I'm starting to become curious if there's maybe some kind of meaning to the color schemes. Are they just random? I don't know. Moving on to the narration. Once again, he delivers a perfect narration. There's no fault with his narration. So I really can't judge it any higher, than every previous book, and as I'm sure the last book will be. The title, Land of Stories, an Author's Odyssey. I'm not entirely happy with the title, I guess, because to me, having heard the Odyssey, the Greek story, it was basically a man who was traveling to different places to get home. I mean, I guess it works, in the sense that it does fit the definition of a long and eventful, adventurous journey or experience. But I just felt like it could have been a better title. I'm not sure if it was selected because of, the way it sounds, because it does sound nice. Don't get me wrong. It sounds nice for a subtitle. I just think something else could have been used. Moving on to the characters. Now, for me, for this one, I'm going to say the characters were kind of lacking to me. This is the one where I really was like, wow, seriously? I mean, I guess it's been set up so much. It was really no surprise once we find out what they're going to do. But the characters that they all go and meet and see are basically the same characters over again. All the characters we meet that we've met already are, once again, the same characters. Which I'll dive into a little bit more when I get into the story, but in fact, let's just move into the story. So, as I read in the beginning, it basically, if you've read the last book, you know that it ended basically with the bad guy winning. And now they gotta go and they're gonna use this magic potion that they made, because they made their own version of the magic potion. And they're gonna go into Connor's writing. Again, I'm going to point out, I see a flaw here. This book really shines this flaw. And I'm gonna wait until the next one is done, until I finish the next one, to see what happens before I point it out. But they go to get Connor's books or Connor's stories from his teacher. And honestly, I was a little disappointed the teacher didn't tag along. You know, I thought that would have been a nice little interesting twist if, you know, because she basically finds out about everything that's going on, and it turns out she has a connection, and then they kind of leave her behind. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that kind of sucked. It would have been nice to have the teacher along, because who knows, maybe she knows something about, you know, the books that could actually help Connor and Alex in the final battle. Or she could think what I'm thinking and have helped make the final battle easier, which I'm guessing is coming in the last book. We do talk about more about something that they briefly addressed in the previous book, which is that the worlds are going to collide. And it's going to open a portal between the fairy tale world and our world. And suddenly, it's like most of the villains aren't even interested in taking over the fairy tale world. More like that's just a stepping stone, because now everybody wants to try to take over our world. This new witch that isn't from any story I know of, she wants to take over our world, and she's talking to the other fairy tale villains like the Wicked Witch, Captain Hook, and them. And she's like, hey, I'm going to betray the other witches. Once we get that world, we'll just take it over from the witches, and you guys will help me rule over the other world. And I'm sorry to say, you know, maybe it's just thinking, you know, out loud, but they don't make us seem very threatening to them. Like, I get they have magic, but only some of them have magic. Peter Pan's pirates don't have magic. Captain Hook does not use magic. Him and his crew are going to be useless against our bullets and drones, and I mean, because this is like modern day, so we also outnumber them like probably a couple billion. They actually have not said how large the Queen of Hearts' army is, but I mean, there was a game called 52 Pickup, so if there's only 52 soldiers and some of them have already been taken out, that's like a handful of soldiers. Maybe I actually should go and read Alice in Wonderland to see if it's actually stated how many soldiers of the Queen of Hearts has, but I mean, I'm guessing there's only 52. But Alex and Connor, they do go into his stories, and they do bring back his characters, which I actually thought that was kind of unique. The problem I was talking about when I was talking about characters was every single character they basically come across is a copy of somebody from the fairy tale world, like a doppelganger. The cyborg queen is Red Riding Hood. The pirate captain is Goldilocks. The admiral who's chasing the pirate queen is Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. It's basically just, you know, their counterparts. The only ones that didn't seem like counterparts really were the superhero kids and the archaeologist kid. But those you could chalk up are different versions of Alex and Connor themselves. The caretaker, the aunt of the archaeologist kid, was Mother Goose. She goes by MG. Moving into the extras. So I'm going to go out and say that, you know, once again, we're left with another cliffhanger. Once again, it was short like the previous book. Like I said in the previous video, all of these are short. Although I do want to make another addition here and say, I don't know how much it changed. Because, like I said, I bought all of my copies around the same time, and only one of them costed me a bunch. But this one, looking at it online right now on Amazon, is $63.65, and I know I did not pay that much when I ordered the audiobook. So this is another one I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to get into a big rant about how ridiculously that's priced. Like I said, book 3 was longer than this one, and it's around the same price as book 3 now. But yeah, if you are going to get this, either go with Audible, get the actual physical book, or find somewhere else online that sells audiobooks. You probably can get it at a better price. So for this one, though, I'm going to give this, because of everything I discussed, The Land of Stories and Arthur's Odyssey, I'm going to have to give this a 7 out of 10. It wasn't as thrilling as the previous ones. I think it spent a little too much time in Connor's worlds. It was fine, but I mean, it's basically like a mirror image of the previous book. In the previous book, we had real books. In this one, we had all Connor's books. It did give me a few moments where I laughed, but the characters were nothing new. Even for the new characters, they weren't really new. They were basically the other characters with a different skin. And this book basically heightened a problem, which like I said, I'll get into, which I think now, having read this book, I'm definitely going to have to talk about this in the last video. So, with that said, if you like fantasy and you want to check out a really good fantasy series, please consider checking out my book series, The Guardian of Light, available on Amazon and other bookstores. Hopefully today I have earned your subscription, and if you click on that subscribe button, please make sure to click the bell also, so you can be notified the second a new video goes up. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.